I just thought like, wow, this face, fully functional face, right, has smelt for my whole life, from in the womb to now, has smelt everything I've smelt, has said everything I've said, has cried every moment I've cried, has laughed every time I've laughed. And so am I now going to go, yeah, thanks for all of that. Thanks for everything you ever did for me, whatever. Now I'm going to cut you up because I don't like you.
Welcome, Justine. I am so happy to have you here. As you know, I read your book, which is all about this compulsion that women feel to fix their faces when they age. I wrote a column about it and I devoted most of my newsletter to it. And we got a flood of emails and comments. In it, you write about all the experiences that your face reflects, that all this life is written on that face. That's the very thing people get criticized for. Like, boy, she shows her age. That's a thing.
Okay. Well, first of all, when people say something like that, they're telling me about themselves. They're not telling me about me. They're telling me about how they look at life, and they're telling me how they look at themselves. And the other thing I want to say about that is, so my professional position now is as a writer, director, producer. I have to command the set. I have to be a leader. I have to be an encourager of the other people that are working on the set, all of that, right? To me, if I have a face like this, it's a shortcut to, oh, she's an authority. She's in a position of authority. If I have a face like this, then maybe it's going to take them a few minutes to go, if I just look 23, it takes them a few minutes to go, she's in charge? Does she know what she's doing? And then as they get to know me, they'd see that I know what I'm doing. But this is a super duper shortcut to that, I think.
I'm going to revise my thinking about all of my stuff that I think about based on this conversation. No, I do want to get it. You said something about men or people being aggression against faces that are wrinkly because we don't see them. I saw some of that, and I wondered what you thought, because you used the word aggressive or aggression against aging faces. What did that mean to you?
Well, I found it when I found all those comments about my face online. I was really taken aback with the vociferousness with which they posted these. I mean, it's like sometimes when you see bad reviews on Amazon for different products, but some of these bad reviews are so passionate. It's like, really? Did that inflatable raft really annoy you that much? I mean, you've written an essay here. This is pretty remarkable, right? It pushed your buttons. So yeah, I do find that really interesting that my face or someone's older face would push other people's buttons so much, maybe because they themselves are very critical of their own faces, or they had a mother that was very critical of her own face. And so they've got it in their heads that one must be critical of women's faces. So for a lot of people, it's a rule that they have in their head about older faces that must be fixed. And if someone is not doing it, then I think they count themselves as a defender of that rule, and you can't break that rule. And on my end, it's like, I can't break your rule. I don't really care about your rule.
Two things. I'd love for you to go back to that, because I think that not everybody knows that story about how when you wrote your first book, Fame, having grown up on TV, being an adolescent on Family Ties, what the reaction was to you in the world.
Yeah. So when I was writing my first book, Fame, I made the mistake of Googling myself, which I don't suggest for anybody, but it brought me to where I am today. So maybe it was good. But the autocomplete was looks old. So Justine Bateman looks old. And at the time I was 41 or 42. And I thought, really? Because I didn't think I looked old. Anyway, I then made a further mistake by deciding they were right and I was wrong. there were so many of them and so few of me, they must be right. And I think that's something that happens to a lot of women. So if so many people around them are saying one particular thing, it's the conformity principle, right? You're going to want to go along with it because you're concerned that you're going to look dumb, that you don't really know what's going on, and also that you'll be left out. So for reasons that had nothing to do with my face, that, there were more specifically had to do with how fame was changing in my life, and people can read it more in detail in the book. But because of that, I took it in. Like I said, I made them right and me wrong, and it really messed with my head for much longer than I expected it to. So I had to unwind that in me. I had to get to my root fears. One very easy way to generate a need for product is to find what fears already exist and then zero in on those. For me, I don't want to change the beauty world. I don't want to change advertising. I don't want to change people who are critical of people's faces. I'm interested in eliminating the buttons that have existed in me or may still exist in me that react to those things. So that's my hope with the book, that there's one story where I go into that kind of thing to help people to maybe find what their irrational fears are that's making them turn on their face. Because the problem's not the face. The problem are these fears. If you change the face, you're still going to have these fears. So why not just take care of the fears? And then, you can do whatever you want with your body, your hair, whatever, it's yours. Look, I'm a hustler. I don't care what my age is. I don't even want to know what my age is. I don't really care. To me, there's two ages, alive or dead. If it can help anyone, what I do, if I feel like, hey, I've always gone in this direction, and all the doors have been open, and now that's not happening anymore, I just got to step back for a minute and look at, there's no way that would be happening unless I needed my head turned in a different direction. Because in truth, if I had kept getting acting jobs, I would not have gone to UCLA. I wouldn't have a computer science degree. I would not have written 2 books. I would not have just directed a film. That was my path. I didn't understand it. It took that door shutting so hard to turn my head. That's how life has worked for me, and I don't think I'm an outlier.
Well, I love that because it also gets me back to another thing you said earlier, which was about how when you get to a certain age, you've had this life of experience. Because a lot of people wrote in too and said that they'd gotten cancer, or they'd had a scare, or they'd come back from something and they realized that they'd wasted a lot of time, just like you said, thinking about their faces when actually there were more important things.
I always wanted to look eventually like Georgia O'Keeffe. So all these things that started happening, like with the loose neck and this around here and like the hooded eyes and stuff, I'm like, I'm on my way. Like, I'm going to get there, I'm going to make it. As my face got more interesting to me, I was like, it's happening. Now you look at my face and you know what you're getting, versus I'm this type of person, but you're just seeing this really pretty, I didn't feel like the face I had before. I didn't dislike my face. I was like, whatever about it, but I don't feel like it represented me the way this face represents me.